right, boys, sharpen your pencils, because I'm going to take you to school again.
Hi, welcome to World Sports Weekly. I'm your host, Natalie Rydström. With the opening test of the 2013 Ashes played in Nottingham over, the second test moves to the Lords and England are firmly in the driving seat. England are now odds on to win the series in every market, but there's always value to be had if you just know where to look. And joining us now to point us in the right direction is Richard O'Hagan, sports writer and popular contributor to SBRForum. Richard, welcome to the show.
Hi there, Natalie.
Now, firstly, what did you make of the first test?
It was quite a remarkable game. I don't think there's been a game of cricket like that in many, many a long year. The balance of power shifted so rapidly and so frequently. And then we came down to that fantastic last wicket partnership with the Australians that so nearly stole the game away. Then we had all the controversies, all the decisions that shouldn't have been given, that were and should have been given, that shouldn't have been. And it was just a fantastic day and a fantastic 5 days, which really surprised a lot of people. I had actually was looking for a long time at the game ending up in a draw, but what a result and a great victory for England to take through to the next game.
Yes, for sure. Now, there has been a lot happening, a lot of events. You know, how have the events in the past few days changed your thinking about the series?
Well, one of the things we've noticed is that Australia may be more competitive than we thought they were going to be, and England may not be quite as strong or in quite as good form as we expected them to be. I think looking back on the test match in Nottingham, that Australia were probably playing at the peak of their powers, give or take one or two little batting problems. Whereas England, they looked a bit sluggish. There were one or two. Ian Bell, part of the batsmen who didn't really look like they were in top form or looked like they were just trying to force things, getting a little bit anxious. So hopefully from their point of view, things will have calmed down. And if they do really hit top form, then I think they are still going to stretch away from the Australians. But in terms of looking at how the series is going to play out, 3 wins to England, 1 win to Australia is still the favourite, but I'm thinking it could be a little closer than that. I'm thinking it may actually end up being a 2-1 series, or maybe even a 3-2.
Now, has anything changed your strategy for the individual player markets?
I think the big change to come with the Australian selection, they pulled 2 real surprises on the first day of the test. They left out David Warner, who I thought was a strong candidate to be their leading run scorer. And they played a guy called Steve Smith, who most people don't regard as being a test class player. And in fact, until this year, hadn't played test cricket since the last Ashes. And then, with the biggest shot of them all, they dropped Nathan Lyon, the guy who's been their frontline spinner for the last few years. They brought in a 19-year-old with only 10 first-class cricket matches behind him, Ashton Agar. And he was a revelation, certainly in terms of batting and fielding. His bowling still didn't look like it was up to much, but Lyon was one of the bankers for top wicket taker for them, because we thought he was the only guy you could probably guarantee playing in all 5 tests. Now that's out the window. He might not get a look in for a good 2 or 3 games now.
Now, you mentioned Ashton Agar. Is it worth following him from now on?
Well, I suppose one of the ways you can look at it is he's actually right up there in the top run scorers, which for someone who started out batting at number 11 in his first test match is quite some going. And unless England could work out a way to bowl for him, he's got a very idiosyncratic batting style, you could find him a solid accumulator of runs. So in that market, it might be worth following him, not just yet, but seeing how he goes in the next test or two, because he picks up solid runs there, and the other batsmen keep doing as they have been doing, and playing one innings that's reasonably good and then a couple of bad ones, then he could find his way slowly building up those run scorer charts. In terms of bowling, he's not my tip for the top wicket taker. He bowled very averagely. It's going to be a big challenge for him to go to Lords and to bowl, because that has a massive slope diagonally across the square, and young bowlers often find it really hard to go and bowl there. So stay away from him there. If you want to bet in the top wicket taker market for Australia, I'd be looking at Peter Siddle, who picked up 8 wickets in the last test and is 3 ahead of his nearest rival already.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, England are now odds on to win this series in every market. So where should we look to make some money from our bets, Richard?
Well, I think one place you can look, I've mentioned it already, is the actual series margin, because there's still plenty of opportunities out there. Everything apart from a 0-0 series is still open, really, if you think about it. So you can make some money there, certainly, and I'll be looking to bet either before this test or before one after that to get the real value from that. You've obviously still got your top run scorer markets, particularly for England. Ian Bell's taken a bit of a lead there. I do think someone like Jonathan Trott is probably going to come through and accumulate runs, particularly as he was England's leading run scorer in the first innings in Nottingham and got an absolutely atrocious decision in the second innings to get out for a duck. So go with him in that market. And then there's always all sorts of idiosyncratic little markets out there as well. I mentioned before the top South African run scorer market, which is basically a contest between Jonathan Trott, Kevin Peterson and Matthew Pryor, so far as England are concerned. Again, a little bit of money to be made there because the odds are still against all of them.
Right, okay, Richard, thanks for joining us.